Today we're gonna take a look at different jewelry for a stretched septum. Ever since I uploaded my time-lapse of me stretching my septum, I've gotten a lot of questions about what type of jewelry I wear in it and just to showcase a few different styles. So I'm gonna show you a few of the pieces that I wore the most. I don't own a lot of pieces because I've actually downsized since then and also re-pierced my septum because of reasons you will find at the end of this video. You might see the glass bar I'm wearing right now. I'm currently at a 5mm or a 4 gauge, so one size smaller than I initially was. So to showcase the pieces, I have passed me from August last year to showcase these pieces for me. So let's just start with the first piece. This first piece is what I was wearing the most, and that's because it also fits with a lot of other jewelry in addition to this one. And it's just a very basic clear silicone tunnel. And I feel like these are a must-have for whatever body part you're stretching. Silicone is super lightweight, stretchy, soft, comfy, and because it is a tunnel, it keeps the hole open at the size you're at while giving you the ability to put rings or clickers through it. It might even give you the opportunity to wear jewelry in a material that isn't necessarily high quality, maybe even materials that you're allergic to, because it sits inside of the tunnel and isn't touching your skin. So my personal favorite was to stack multiple rings inside this tunnel. I like to either double stack or triple stack like I have here. And especially clicker type jewelry are really comfy to wear inside of these. The one that I have here, I can even fit the whole thing through, so it's very easy to open and close. And because of how the clicker is shaped, the bar kind of hangs just perfectly on top of the tunnel, so it doesn't really move around much, even though there is a lot of open space around it. I have another silicone tunnel here that I didn't try on in a video, but it looks like this. It's just like multicolored. I bought this very shortly after I got to my goal size, and I wanted to get a silicone tunnel before I was going to travel, so I needed to get it quick. That's why I couldn't buy Chaos silicone tunnels from BodyArtForms because that would take too long to ship, so I had to get something locally, and this was basically the only silicone tunnel I could find in this size. The problem with this is that one, it's not implant grade silicone, so it might not necessarily be that safe to wear for a long time. And secondly, it's very long compared to the other types I've tried. You can maybe see that the hole is slightly more narrow, which means that I wasn't able to triple stack in it because there's less room for multiple rings. The clear one I have is also just from CrazyFactory, so it's not implant grade as far as I know. So when I reach my goal with my new septum piercing, I will definitely invest in a Chaos brand, just so I know that it's safe to wear for long periods of time. I also wanted to try a tunnel in steel. It's just difficult to find ones that are short enough to where you can stack smaller rings through them. I did find a no flare steel tunnel on CrazyFactory. They are kind of notorious for not having a lot of info in their description, so the length of this tunnel was not stated, but I took the chance and bought it just to try it on. And of course it turned out to be way too long for my nose. I couldn't even get this one to sit straight in my nose because it would touch the nostrils on either side and get pushed kind of to one side. And it's just not comfortable at all. This was too long for me to wear. And I'll also compare this one to the single flare tunnel that I initially stretched my septum with. Even the single flare, because of the length of it, it just doesn't fit the small diameters of rings that I want to stack in it. So really the silicone tunnel is the only option for stacking rings. Then moving on to pinchers. I got 2 wooden ones in a Bloodwood color. And I have these in a 5 and a 6mm as I got these while I was stretching. These are also from BodyArtForms, and it's the only place where I've found pinchers at a thicker gauge but with a smaller diameter, which is what I prefer for my jewelry. I have a bit of mixed feelings when it comes to wood, but for the most part I like them. The best part is probably that it has enough friction to where it stays nicely put in your septum. It doesn't wiggle around or lob to one side or hang crooked or anything like that. It's also so lightweight that I can't really feel that it's in there, even at the bigger sizes. The type of wood that I got also smells really nice. Like, I can actually smell the wood when it's in my nose. I don't know if that's a thing with all types of wood, but especially the Bloodwood does have a specific scent to it. The thing I don't like about wood is that you do have to oil it constantly. Because of the friction, it can be slightly uncomfortable to put in and take out. So you do have to use a lot of oil when doing that. And then after wearing it for maybe a day, you should oil it again when you want to take it out, because it gets kind of stuck in there after your body absorbs the oil and the wood dries out. And even when storing these, when you're not wearing them, you should also make sure that they are oiled so the wood doesn't crack or dry up and even shrink a little bit in size. I think that can happen as well. So I wanted to try these in glass as well, because I know that that's very comfortable. They had a lot of color options on the website, and I wasn't really sure on which one to pick. I really wanted the orange one, but I didn't have it in my size at the time. But I ended up getting the red one. I feel like it looked more dark red in the pictures that I saw online. So I was a little bit disappointed when I got it, because it's very like a light translucent red and not like a dark blood red that I was hoping for. And I feel like it kind of makes it look like acrylic. It does have a small notch at the top, which I'm personally not a fan of. I'd rather have the full size going all the way through. And as much as I love wearing glass jewelry, this one just didn't work out for me. I do think it's because how high my piercing is placed in my nose, but you can maybe see it kind of tilting backwards because it's being pushed by the front of my nose or the nostrils. And I could even see this in my stretching time-lapse video, even at 3mm, but definitely from the 4mm and up. Because it's glass and not wood that has a lot of friction, it just doesn't stay in place, so it gets pushed to the back and doesn't really hang straight. So I didn't feel like I could wear this glass piece at all because of that. But that's where the silicone tunnel comes back into play. The silicone kind of makes that friction that you need to hold a pincher in place. So fitting a pincher through a silicone tunnel works beautifully. Of course, it does affect the size that you can put in. I first tried with going one size down. So I tried to fit the 5mm wooden pincher in my 6mm tunnel, but the pincher was still too big, so I actually had to go 2 sizes down from the tunnel size to be able to wear a pincher through it. The 4mm steel pincher that I had fit perfectly through that tunnel. And I'm equally both excited and embarrassed to show you the last piece. It is my favorite dream piece, but it sadly didn't fit me, which is why I decided to reposition my piercing. And my dream piece was the septum spike. All the ones that I could find at BodyArtForms were incredibly long, and CrazyFactory doesn't even have septum spikes at all. So I had to search other places to buy these, and honestly it's really hard to find places that sell them. There are a lot of options on Etsy, but they are also usually very long, and oftentimes you can't even choose the length yourself. But I did find one perfect seller on eBay, where you are able to choose the length of the septum spike yourself, and it goes all the way down to 30mm, so just 3 centimeters. And honestly, I would even maybe want a 25mm if I can find that one day. But for now, 30mm is the smallest that I can find. So I bought a clear glass septum spike that has these copper toned glitters in there. And it's just so gorgeous. I really like it because it's kind of subtle with the clear glass, but then a little pizzazz with the glitter. I feel like it's perfect for like maybe even daily wear. But sadly, because my piercing was pierced so high in my nose, it just didn't allow the room that I needed for the septum spike, as you're gonna be able to see here. It really pushed my nostrils and, yeah, honestly my whole nose kind of upwards. and it's just not a great look. So I did not feel comfortable wearing that at all. Yeah, that really bummed me out, and that's the reason I decided to reposition my piercing. So I have actually pierced my septum twice since I recorded this. So technically a second and third time, just to get the right position that I wanted so that I can be able to wear septum spikes in the future. But I do still have my initial piercing because I want to be able to wear both rings and clickers when I'm not wearing a septum spike. And I felt that the position that I had with my initial piercing was the perfect height for that. And also because I pierced a completely new hole for just the septum spikes, I had to put that really low because of how my anatomy is. And I knew that if I wanted to wear rings or clickers, it just wouldn't look good in that new hole because it is placed so low. It just wouldn't hang nicely. So I really wanted to have like the upper hole for rings and clickers and then the bottom hole purely for septum spikes. And I feel like it has turned out just perfect for me. So because of that reason, and because I found out that I didn't really like the look of pinchers on me that great, I did downsize my first initial hole. So right now it's at a 2.5 or 3 millimeter, which is I think around a 10 gauge. And I'm currently wearing just a single flare tunnel in there. And then I have my 5 millimeter or 4 gauge glass bar below it. And I'm only one size away from being at a 6 millimeter for the second time. So I'm really excited to just be done with the whole thing. Be done with stretching because I've done that twice now for my septum. And I will of course make another video when I reach my goal again and try on all the different septum spikes, because I have already ordered a few for my goal size, so I'll be able to wear those in about a month's time, I think. And I have also gotten a lot of questions about how I was stretching my septum, and especially with the taping method, because it seems to me like not a lot of people are using the taping method. I see a lot of people just using tapers and even just fucking pushing the next size up in a pincher through their nose. So yeah, I do plan on eventually making a video all about stretching with tape. And yeah, everything that I did to stretch, because I also kind of used different jewelry for the first hole and the second hole just because of how they are positioned. So if you have any questions about that, just leave it in the comment section and I'll answer them in that video. But before that, I might just upload the video where I'm actually piercing my new hole for the second and third time, because I did record that, and by judging from the views that I got on my first video, people seem to really enjoy those kind of videos. Probably for good and bad reasons, but I don't mind sharing it. So yeah, I have a lot of work to do basically. Expect more videos on septum piercings in the future, and I'll try to be more consistent with my uploading. Remember to like and subscribe if you don't want to miss out on my new content. And check out my Patreon or Instagram if you want exclusive content and pictures that you might not find here on YouTube. Because I'm always sharing like new pictures and stories, especially on my Instagram. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Vi ses!